Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's me to go first. I have the blank. Do I have a bingo? I think if I do, the blank would be a vowel. So I'm going to quickly run through them in my mind. Can't see anything through the A, the E, the I, the O, or the U. Now, with a blank, I want to get to a bingo as soon as possible. The Z is a good tile, so I don't have to play it immediately. The problem tile is the V. Now, I can play van or vor. I think I'm going to play vor because it takes fewer tiles after, and the A is a better vowel than the O. I still don't have a bingo, but this should be fairly easy to resolve. BY is a useful short word, and gaby is good. That would get rid of 3 problem tiles in the B, the G, and the Y. I do have the N, so retaining the G is not so bad because I have 2 of the components of an ing ending. I have zany, which would keep BG. Not a great leave, but it may score a lot depending on what my opponent plays. Gazy is also good. Not many opportunities for these words on the board as it stands. We'll see what my opponent plays. I need to be sure that there isn't a bingo. I'm pretty sure there isn't with this rack. Only one vowel. And some clunky consonants in the B, the G, the Y, and the Z. Not much synergy between any of those, or any 2 of those 4. Through an I would have zingy, leaving A, B blank. That's not bad. And zygon is good. So if my opponent were to change, that's one possibility. Playable in column 8 through the O of vor. That would leave BA blank, which is a pretty good leave. I'm sure I don't have a bingo through the V. So I'm considering if I have one through the O or the R. Vor only takes an S after it. My opponent is taking a while with his or her move. Maybe they are close to a bingo. Great, I have a vowel to play through in the I of fiery. So I could play zingy in row F. Only 23 points, that's not a great score. I could play gazy at B10 down. Zyga is the anagram of gazy. Let's see what that scores. £29 points, that's better. Now, can I place my Z at F6 on the triple letter square? So I'd be looking at a word with a pattern of Z blank blank I. Can't see such a word. Oh, well, hold on a minute. I can play Zyger in this spot. 42 points. Well, that is much better. And the Y is also next to a double letter square where my B could play next go. I think that is probably the best I'm going to do. Great, I have beneath with the blank as an A. Does that play anywhere? Well, it does. Right now it plays at E11 down for a double-double. And it wouldn't surprise me if my opponent took that spot, because there aren't many good spots on the board, and that is a particularly hot one. Fiery takes nothing after it. So in terms of bingo lanes, I've got column 7 to consider through the V of Vor. That doesn't look promising. There's also the O of Vor, which I can play through. Well, can't see anything through that. Now, it's possible my opponent will play in row B from the Z of Zyger across to the double word square at B14. And if they do, I can play my double-double. Now, I normally refer to my opponent generically as he. I've got a feeling that I may know paterae. I think she may be a lady from the West Indies, who I met at a World Championship a few years ago, but I'm not sure about that. Now, other bingo lanes. Well, there's the E of fiery for a bingo beginning at G8. So that would be a word, a bingo with 3 E's. That spot has been taken, and so has my double-double spot. But I do now have access to a bingo lane in column 12, and my H can go next to the C of Weiss. I can't play beneath in that column. So do I have an alternative 7-letter bingo? I'm going to have to run through the alphabet for the blank. I'm up to E and I haven't seen anything. I would have hell bent through an L. I'm up to O and I haven't seen anything. Nothing with an R that I can see. Nothing with an S. Okay, I've run through the alphabet and not seen anything, which is a shame. I think there may be something there. We'll find out later. No, I mustn't ignore the Z and the Y of Zyger as floaters. Can't see anything with the Z. Or the Y. Now 4 takes an N after it. I have an N. So I could play Heben at A12 down. Let's see what that scores. Rack lead of T blank is fine. Heben 38. It's a good score. It opens a bingo lane in column 13. My opponent is likely to be drawn to the triple letter square at A15, and by doing so will provide 2 more floaters. So there's a lot that's good about this move. I draw the second blank. Not sure what the significance of the different colours for in the bottom right hand corner of the blanks are. One appears to be yellow and the other blue. Anyway, do I have a bingo? I surely do, but it's sometimes can be hard to spot a bingo when you've got two blanks and the letters with it aren't great. In the sense that I have a duplicate I and a P, so it's going to be a slightly low probability word. I have oviposit. Okay, I'm sure that's not going to be the best bingo, but it is playable in column 7. I have positive in column 7 as well, and that's better than oviposit because oviposit stopped one square short of row O. So my opponent could play a word pluralizing oviposit. And by pluralizing, I'm including the possibility of putting the S as a verb ending on the word. Ooh. Upriver's not totally sure of that. I'm sure of upriver, I'm just not sure if it takes an S. It does. And that's taken out both of the spots I had in mind. But look at this. My opponent has provided the S for a double-double. And I'm not going to spend longer on this move because I have spent a while on previous moves. And I think if there is an alternative bingo, it's not going to be significantly better. Okay, positive. And positive, I believe, gosh, I was going to say it takes an R and an S. I think that's the case. But I'm not positive. Okay, I have extol at H11 for a big score. 60 points. I'm currently 52 points ahead. But there are quite a few opportunities on this board now. There's for high scores. There's row A through the H of Heben onto the triple word square at A15. There's the H15 triple word square. There's the O8 triple word square. And there's also sticking an R or an S on the end of positive. So quite a few opportunities. Now if extol is taken, what can I do with my X? Well, I could play hoax at A12 across. 42 points. Rack leave of GLMT is not great at all. A real risk of drawing 3 consonants and having few options. So it'd be nice to leave a more balanced rack leave. Through an N I would have Magnox. Ah, great. Extol is available. I'll briefly pause in case my opponent has provided something better, or an opportunity for me to play something better, and I don't think they have. No, and Roke does not take anything in front, I don't think, just an S and T afterwards, which don't play. Okay, so extol for 60. Now, are there any other 5-letter words playable in this spot which begin X? Not that I can see. A nice balanced rack. No duplicates. 4 vowels, 3 consonants. So if I have a bingo, it's likely to be through a floating consonant, and there's the R of Roke and the L of extol. Can't see anything through the L or the R. But because this rack is balanced, I ought to be able to score well and leave a decent rack leave for next go. Ogham is good as a 5-letter word, but the rack leave of EI is poor. And there's no great place to play it. I'd quite like to play the G. And I'd like to leave, or like to address the slight excess of vowels that I have. I note that I can place an I at E6, so I could play hip. 37 points. Wow, that is big. Coalized, good score for my opponent, 76 points. And he or she has placed the S next to a double letter square where my H can go. So, do I have a four-letter word beginning with H? Yes, I do. I do indeed. Hayem. Rackley's pretty poor, but look at the score, 53 points. Now, if there is an alternative in this spot, just considering words beginning with the H, it would have to be HA, and then next to the D it could be the E, which I've considered, and then the I or the O. And I can't see anything there. Now, what about putting a letter in front of the H, so a five-letter word? Well, that would be beginning OH, and I can't see one. So, 53 points. That looks best. And that's not bad, given my rack leave of GIO. Well, I say it's not bad, I have 5 vowels, but I think I'll be able to resolve it fairly easily. I've got R-ing at A, 11 across, 27 points. That would leave A, E, O. Not a great leave, but that's simply... but the score is good, and it's a fairly flexible leave, even if it is very vowel heavy. So, what else do I have? Well, I have Gonia at L1 across, but that's pretty risky. I'm only 60 points ahead and my opponent's on turn. There are good opportunities on this board. So I could only be 30 or 40 ahead after my opponent has moved. Now I need to pay attention to the Z of Zyger. I may have a play through the Z and the E of Heben. In fact, I do. I have Zoea. Z-O-E-A-E. That's not bad because the rack leave of gain is good because I've got the ing ending. It also addresses the vowel consonant imbalance and it scores 28 points. So that's good. I need to consider if I have a bingo. If I do, it will be through the P of positive or the R of rogue. I can't see one. My opponent has taken my Zoea spot and my R-ing spot. So I'm going to have to find something new. Just seeing if I've got something else playable beginning with the Z. I would need to put the G or the N under the U of Humph. Can't see anything there. I'm wondering about playing off 3 vowels somewhere. And what about the QI spot? Ah, well, gosh, this rack leave is going to be shocking. But I do have Genip. 33 points. Very tempting. But the rack leave is awful. 33 points. So tempting. There are 4 A's left. I could have a real horror show of a rack next go. But if I don't play Genip, what's the alternative? I'm wondering if I can play in column G, a play through both of the C's on the board. Ah, well, I think I do have a play there. I think I have Seeker. That's 24 points, but the rack leave of INGO is so much better than AAO. I think it's more than 9 points better. Through an S, I would have C going. I've now got a 47-point lead, which, given that my opponent is on turn, is quite fragile. But unless my opponent bingos, I think I will still have a lead. I'm looking at the Z for a play reaching underneath Humph. Well, that is a good score for my opponent. They are now only 8 points behind. And, well, not really and, it doesn't follow, but I do have Genip still playable, which I know is over 30 points, 33 points, and the rack leave of AGO is not bad. I note that there are 4 N's unseen. The N goes well with the G, but only as an ING ending, and there's only 1 I left, so that's a bit of a false positive. But AGO is fairly flexible. It's just not particularly bingo-y, but this board is really drying up. Genip takes out a couple of floaters. The P floater of positive isn't that helpful. So actually 33 points, and this rack leave looks pretty good. Fairly balanced in terms of vowels and consonants. I don't have a bingo. I've only got a 41 points lead. So if my opponent were to bingo, I'd be in trouble. Still can't see anything through the Z. O8 is available for a 5-letter word beginning with I. So I could play ingot in that spot, leaving AOT. Not great, and it would be providing 3 nice floaters for my opponent, so I'm sure I can do better than that. So what is there on this board? Looking in row B, I don't have to have a word beginning with Z to score well. A 4-letter word beginning with the E would score well. Well, I could play ego in that spot. 19 points. My opponent only gets 25 points, so the scores are drying up. I've got a 16-point lead, and I'm on turn. Looking at the tiles that are left, there are no blanks left, but fairly bingo-y bag. Not many high-scoring tiles unplayed, just the K and the V. So this is going to be a tight ending to this game. Now I could play goat at B1. 22 points, I quite like that. Opening up row A is not dangerous because my opponent can't bingo there. The G is not a great tile, only an A or a U can go in front of it. If my opponent were to play there, they'd probably get quite a small score. And NOT is quite a good rack leave given what's in the bag. And goat doesn't provide any bingo lanes for my opponent. Now this isn't particularly good. Well, it's good in the sense that I've got the V, and the V and the K were the only high-scoring tiles. But it doesn't feel a particularly flexible rack. I do have the U and the A for going at A1 if my opponent doesn't go there. So I could play Ant, A-N-T. 25 points, a small score. But it's good to be able to have scores in the 20s available when you have got a 40-point lead. The worst thing is when you can't score more than 10 points, or you're going to open the board if you do. Just looking to see if there's anywhere for my V, in particular if I can play out at L8, although I'm unlikely to want to provide my opponent with floaters. Now, well, I could play VAU at L4. It would take out the floating P of positive, but it would provide a bingo lane in row M for bingos beginning at M, 5 and 6. Okay, my opponent has opened up a bingo lane in row O for a bingo ending in N. It's not a very common ending, but it does feature in bingos ending A-T-I-O-N. It would be nice to take out that row with a word beginning with V, which doesn't take any letters in front. So do I have a bingo beginning with a V at 08? Sorry, not a bingo, a 6-letter word beginning with V, ending in N. Don't think I do. No. Now, I'm only 6 points ahead, which is not very much. Now, let me reconsider Vor, because my opponent's play has restricted a bingo from this spot. Well, it's restricted a play from M6, so any bingo would have to begin at M5. So it would have to begin with a D, an L, an N, R, S or T, almost everything. But OU takes a D after it, an R and a T, so that restricts it. You're looking at words beginning ST or DR. Well, unfortunately there are such words. So can I do better than that? I've got 5 minutes on the clock. There are 9 tiles in the bag. Difficult decision. I'm only 6 points ahead, so it's not just a case of stopping my opponent from bingoing. I have got to keep scoring. If I don't take the triple word square at 08, my opponent may do so and catch me. So what should I do? Wow, this is tough. I think I'm going to play VAU because I like the flexibility of the rack leave. And the letters that are left are hugely bingo-y, but my opponent cannot play a bingo ending Ation. So the N of con, row O, is not so great. My opponent gets 25 points, now takes a 1-point lead. 3 tiles in the bag. Now I could play tendon at 0.8, but that provides an easy bingo spot. So what about playing no down here? My opponent can still bingo beginning at M5, but that bingo would need to begin DR, and I can't see a bingo beginning DR or TR, Trindle. Okay, so my opponent, and or ST. So maybe I can do better than no, which only scored 11 points anyway. Gosh. I could play no at L8 across, but the problem with that is that I'm 1 point behind. And my opponent could catch me. Let's see what this scores. 24 points. I like the points. I'm taking a big risk because my opponent could play a bingo ending in S. Do I have a play in that spot which doesn't begin with the T? So if it began with the N or the D, then a bingo couldn't be played ending with an S. Denton, Donton. Very tricky. Could play tendon at M6. Only 13 points, that's not good. I could play ident down here. Now this has some merit. It takes out 2 bingo lanes and it provides a floating N or T, which hopefully aren't too useful for my opponent, and it scores 24 points. Oh, I think that was probably a mistake. So my opponent has got a great rack, but is there a bingo through the N or the T? Both of those tiles duplicate tiles on my opponent's rack. Gosh, maybe my opponent does not have a bingo. There are no other bingo lanes. Wow. I might be quite fortunate here, but rather than concentrating on my opponent's bingo, I've only got 55 seconds left. I'm only 23 points ahead. I've got to assume my opponent doesn't bingo and think about my next move. I don't have great tiles. I can't go out in 1. My opponent has got 2 moves. I've only got 1. So my opponent could win even without bingoing. I do have the S, so I could play odds. I can play udons at A13 down. That's good. £36 points. That is a huge score. So the risk is that my opponent doesn't bingo and blocks that. Only got 55 seconds, which is not very long to find an alternative. Just wondering if I can play out through the N or the T. Can't see a play. My opponent's got just under 4.5 minutes left. Looking to see if I can play a word beginning with the G of genip, and I can't see one. So udons is a great play. Now where else can I place my S? Not sure there's anywhere, or anywhere particularly good. I don't think Weiss takes an S. Great, my opponent has not blocked Udons. I would have been in trouble if they had done so. Now, Udon's 36 points. I think this is going to be enough. So let's have a look. I'm 35 points ahead. I lose 4 on count back. My opponent needs 31 to draw. They are not going to do that with ELNR. Great. Now, if my opponent doesn't go out, and I think they're going to struggle with that rack, can I go out with my OU? I'll probably win anyway, but it would be nice to go out. I can play out at O6 across, and I can play foo at A15 down. So if my opponent doesn't go out, I certainly am. Now, what's the most I can score? Foo scores 6, out scores 3. Tolu in row J scores 4. OU at F2, 7 points. That's the best I've seen. Can I beat 7? Well, there's OU at M7 down for 8 points. Is that my best? Yeah, I think it is. My opponent's got just 2.5 minutes. So we have both used almost all our time. I think we were both a bit slow getting off the mark. I'm still scouring the board in case I can score more than 8 points. But to no avail. So at the moment I'm liner and my opponent has gone out. 9 points, that's fine. So pass to end the game. And the final score is 417 to my opponent, 439 to me, a winning margin of just 22 points. Let's see what I missed. I'm going to go through this quite quickly because I'm mindful that this video has been quite long. Now, it was me to go first. Rons. I have still not played that word. For some reason, I just don't see it. But it would have been better than vor. Great, no missed bingos here. I could have played zany at B10, but I played Zyger, not very much between those two. Now, great, no missed bingo here, and Heben looks like it was best. Appositia, Hospitia, well, a whole bunch of double doubles, positive being one of them. Extol looks like it was best. There was an alternative, Exalt, but Extol was better because of the rack leave. No missed bingo here, and Hayem looks like it was best. Ozina, I didn't see that, and I was looking for a play through the Z and the E. Well, that would have been very nice to have spotted, even though it would have opened up row A. And Seeker looks like it was the best of the alternatives. Gosh, did I have an identical rack? No, I didn't. Slightly different. Genep looks like it was best. Goat at F2. Yeah, that's probably better than Goat at B1 because it doesn't give anything away at all. This was a tricky rack, and the top of the list there, Vort, opens up column 1, so I'm not enamoured of that. But I'm not particularly enamoured of the play that I did make either. And here I could have played Udon, and this is where I was agonising about blocking opponents' bingo lanes. And I think, given the tiles that are left, my opponent probably did have a bingo, so I think that my attempts to obstruct that were a good thing to aim at doing. Let's just see if my opponent had a bingo. No. Good. Yidon's was best here. And then my opponent went out. Did they have a better out? No, they didn't. So that was a really exciting and close game, which was great fun to watch. It's good to be back in winning ways. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.